Welcome back. You're watching the Power Breakfast Show. Now, the politician we're hosting this morning is said to be very, very humble. He's said to be very modest. Says his work is to work for his people, and to that extent, he has actually been awarded for the best use of CDF money in his constituency. And I'm talking about none other than Kiharu, Member of Parliament, Mr. Irungu Kang'ata. Very good morning to you.
Thank you.
And Muteginjao on the other end. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
The gentleman has won an award called the Maji Award 2015 CDF, Constituency number 1, Kiharu Central.
Yes.
Central Kenya.
Yes.
The Central Kenya Forum for Peace.
Yes.
Is that the one that give you the award?
Yes, indeed.
Who are they? Who is the Central Kenya Forum for Peace?
Central Kenya Forum for Peace is an NGO based in Nyeri. So it does issues to do with research, issues to do with peace and justice.
How credible are they?
Well, I can't tell. To me, the only thing I can tell you is that I only saw an SMS in my phone. That SMS was asking me to give out my email address. They were saying they want to conduct a certain survey. Then thereafter, I did forward them my email address. Then they sent me a set of questions. I answered those questions. Then thereafter, they visited my constituency. Then after that, then I saw a text telling me to appear in Nyeri on Monday.
Oh, sorry. When you say they sent you a set of questions, what was the basis of those questions?
There were about 5. The first one was, 1, I confirm whether indeed that my CDF has been employed to tackle issues to do with domestic water.
Okay.
And if indeed it is, I proceed to answer the other questions. So I said yes. Then the other one was, they asked me to state in Kenya shillings how much money I've invested in domestic water.
That is CDF money?
Yes, CDF money, since assuming office in March 2013. Then thereafter, they also asked that I should state and name the projects, which I proceeded to do. The other one was to do with to state whether there are public schools or any other public institutions which have been connected with water pursuant to my investment in water projects. I proceeded to do that. Then thereafter, they asked me after the funding, who does the management of the project? Is it a public water company or is it a community? I proceeded to state. So for Kiharu, since March 2013, we had 3 financial years, that is 2012-2013, 2013-2014, and then 2014-2015. So far, we have expended about 50 million. And then in terms of schools that we have connected to water pipeline, there are many. I think maybe I can mention them. In Biru Ward, I think we have Muthigiriri, Kambirwa, Matithi, Kayuyu, about 6 or 7. Then in Township, 1. In Mogori, about 3. In Murarandi, about 2. In Gaturi, about 2. Well, I can say about 20 so far.
20 schools have been connected to water?
Yes, with water. But after we do the connection, we then mobilize the community now to apply to the water company to have water connected to your homesteads.
And do they pay?
Yes, of course they do. In some regions, I have seen a very high uptake. In some other regions, I have seen maybe some low uptake by the citizens. So it depends which region.
What is important of a school having water and not the home?
Well, the whole idea is, 1, you first start with a school. Why? 1, for measurability of what you are doing. Otherwise, if let's say, for instance, you say, I'm taking water to village X, you may dupe the auditors because the question will be, this pipeline started from where to where? But when you have this notion that you're taking to a certain publicly recognized institution, from there at least now it starts to make sense, doesn't it? So therefore we are saying we are taking water from point X to a school, then to another school, to another school. That's number 1. Number 2, after you take water to a school, then you can now mobilize the other community to connect their fittings into that pipeline. Of course, there are several advantages of that. Number 1, children will no longer be going to school with water. Currently, in those schools that we have yet to do that, and I think in so many other schools in Kenya, children, very young children, are usually required by the teachers to carry water for, one, drink, two, to wash the classrooms. So you find, one, they are bringing water which is not clean. Number two, they are also spending a lot of time getting water to take to school. So my idea was, one, to do away with that. We have schools with clean and good water.
How do you ensure that the water is clean? You have said that students are asked to bring water to school, one for drinking. How do you ensure that the water you're providing is clean? Because for me, it would be safer to carry water from home than come to school and drink water from a source that I do not know about.
Good. Now, when you ask children to bring water, they tend to bring water from the nearest river. It goes without saying. But now when you bring water, and probably now that comes to the third criteria, the issue of sustainability after the project. We have been using what we call public water service providers. These are government institutions which are the water company. There are several in this country. So in Kiharu we have about 3. So they are the one who do the connection of the pipeline. Those public water companies are the one who manage water infrastructure. They are the one who clean that water. So the water which is coming to the school is from the government, and it's clean water, and it is from an improved source. The advantage of that is that even after you do away, after the project, if there is any busting, they are going to do repairs. If there is any need for connection, they are the one to do that. So after the funding is a more sustainable program.
I don't understand the role of the water company. If you are going to do the piping, the school or the CDF, what is the role of the water company?
We do 2 things. One, CDF does 2 things. One, we split up that money. Part of that money buys the pipes. But then another part, we give it to the water company. We tell that water company, one, to supervise the digging of the trenches. We, in CDF, we cannot be able to say the pipeline should pass here, should pass here. We cannot be able to do that. Number 2, at other times, you may require some other consents when you are digging. For instance, if you are crossing a road, you require some consent from another government body, let's say like KERA, that is Kenya Rural Roads Authority. So it makes sense when you are cooperating with a government entity, a government entity that is managing water. Number 3, after you have done the pipeline, you may need a person who is going to manage that pipeline. It makes sense when you have started that cooperation early before. And most importantly, they help us check on the quality of that work. If it is us, we don't have that technical competence. We don't have water engineers. But most of those public government entities that manage waters, they do have professionals, engineers, who ensure our suppliers bring the correct pipes. Otherwise, you would have a situation where they are bringing wrong class of pipes. So it helps us when we have that cooperation.
Apart from water, how do you use CDF?
Yes, we do have other investments. One, bursary. We give a lot of bursary. Number 2, we do schools infrastructure improvement. Number 3, we do hold medical camps, and also probably mobilize people to take up the insurance for medical purposes. Number 4, we also do
you
some
use
roads.
CDF money to do medical insurance?
No. The whole idea is to mobilize people. We have a medical camp, which is partially supported by CDF, although ideally we also source using other methods. We look for our friends, they mobilize a medical camp. Then when people come, we tell them the need of taking up NHIF. Of course, we also do roads. We also do street lighting. But to us, the key investments in Kiharu, and I would want probably that should be my legacy to be hinged on that, should be the issue of water. We are giving water about 40 or 50% of our allocation.
Why 40 or 50%? Make us understand why 40 or 50%. Seeing that most rural areas have what could be called bigger issues in terms of healthcare, in terms of food programs, the lack of roads. Why are you focusing on water?
Two things. One, I feel water is very important. Number two, in the year 2000, and I think that was the basis of this survey, a state met in the United Nations. They resolved to do what is called Millennium Development Goals.
Yes.
That is, by the year 2015, most people ought to have reached what is called Millennium Development Goals. The goal number 7 was on environment, and one aspect of environment was water. To ensure by 2015, which is this year, half of the world population that then did not have water should be having water as of today. So, my aim is to ensure that we reach that goal. And number 2, I know as a matter of fact that water is number 1 problem in Kiharu, notwithstanding that we have other forms of problems. Of course, I know there are some wards that generally have water, I know. Let's say, for instance, Township Ward. I think about 60% had water. But there are several other rural wards in Kiharu that do not have water, including where I come from in the rural area doesn't have water. So it helps
you mean
to
your
invest.
people, where you come from, your village, people are still fetching water from the river?
Yes, indeed. We are still doing that. So the whole idea is, you'd imagine Murang'a County, we give Nairobi water, isn't it?
Yeah.
In fact, now they're even proposing to take another water there. But up to now, majority of people in Kiharu don't have water. So it makes sense for us in CDF to invest water, to free our women from going to fetch water down there. And by there, I've also realized one thing. When you bring water in a village, it is helping to collapse the price of water. Why? In a certain village, they would buy 20 liters jerrycan of water, 20 shillings. Immediately when you take water, even that person who doesn't have water, he can buy in a kiosk, a water kiosk, at 3 shillings. So you help to save that person's expenditure in terms of 1 jerrycan from 20. That person is now buying it at 3 shillings. If at all you cannot be able to get the connection.
Let's go to what you just mentioned about Murang'a giving Nairobi water. Your senator is proposing that that water which is drawing from dams in Murang'a coming to Nairobi, we should charge for it. Or what's the issue? What do you want? What do Murang'a people want with the water that's coming to Nairobi?
Well, personally, I support the sentiments of Murang'a people. They are saying something should be done prior to taking water to Nairobians. One, we should get something out of the money that Nairobians pay for that water. Why? We are the one who protect the forests at Abadeas from where that water comes from.
What do you mean protect?
The Constitution, the Constitutions has devolved some functions. Environmental protection is one of it, which is now under the county, isn't it? So the water that comes from Murang'a comes from Abadeas, the part of Abadeas which is in Murang'a County. So how do you expect Murang'a County, for instance, to invest in environmental programs if it does not have resources? We have what is called abstraction fees. That fees is usually payable to what is called WARMA. WARMA is a national government body in Nairobi. WARMA does not do any afforestation, to the best of my knowledge. So it makes sense. The abstraction fees that is payable to WARMA to be split up into 2.
What is WARMA?
WARMA means a Water Management Authority in Nairobi. It's a certain body that is in Nairobi that deals with water. It's owned by the national government. So the idea is that abstraction fee, that is when you take water from your source, we call that process abstracting. There is fees which is payable. It is payable to WARMA. So we are saying that fee should be split into 2. WARMA gets half of the portion, Murang'a gets half of the portion. By doing that, Murang'a will have money to protect the forest so that that source of water can be guaranteed to Nairobi. Number two, before they take water to Nairobi, they should have what is called community programs. They ensure we people of Murang'a have sufficient water. And to a certain extent, I think they have listened to those concerns, because I have heard them proposing some programs. By the way, some of those programs, they also hinged on what I'm doing with CDF. Like there is one ward which is called Gaturi. Presently, I'm able to do the lower part of Gaturi. For the upper part of Gaturi, I can only accomplish that using if the Ardhi Water Board, which is now getting water to Nairobi, does its proposed community project in Gaturi, it gets water from the forest, it brings it to a certain place in Gaturi, then me with my CDF, I do the distribution.
What are we going to do about, if that goes on, then it means sale of power. We have those 14 Forks dams, and Kidaruma, and all those dams that generate electricity. They are in certain counties. You are saying that that power, when the people pay for it, those counties must get something. Can that logic be extended?
Yes, it goes without saying. To me,
but those fellows in that area, those counties, didn't build the dam. The river just was flowing.
Just happened to pass by.
It just passed through. Then the company that generates power didn't the power dam. It stopped water from going to the Indian Ocean. What is the contribution of the county so that they get just maybe the land?
First and foremost, when you talk about accidents of nature, there are many other entities that benefit from accidents of nature. One, for instance, the Masai Mara. It's just by sheer coincidence. It is in Masai land, but the Masais do get lots of money out of that resource. So therefore, you should not begrudge the Embu people from getting something when an accident of nature happens in their region. That's number one. Number two, those dams, they depend a lot on the goodwill of those people. One, they would want easy access of their vehicles into those dams. Number two, maybe some forest cover to ensure that water doesn't evaporate. There are many other things incidental to those dams that the people who are within that region, indeed, they need to support that dam for that dam to be there for real. So, in any event, number three, those people would be utilizing that thing we are written out for that dam, that piece of land, notwithstanding probably they were compensated. So, we should be logical. Of course, I'm not saying that they get everything, no. But something to that community should trickle back. The same logic why, for instance, Turkana, they do get something out of the exploration of oil in that region. So the same rationale even with us, particularly in water. You see, in water, it depends a lot with the host community. If you were to decide and say, no, this forest in Abadeas, we should cut it down, surely the Nairobians will suffer. The Nairobians are expecting something out of Murang'a people. One, you're expecting that tunnel that goes through our soil, we don't ever interfere with it, isn't it? Number two, they are talking about flood water. That flood water is being taken to Nairobians at a cost to some other utilization of people of Murang'a. So some form of equilibrium should be found.
All right, and if you're a constituent of Kiharu, please have any questions, send them 22422. There's someone here called Gedenji who says, Honorable Kang'ata, good job you're doing, but what about the small road behind Getuto Shopping Center passing through to Getege Chief's camp? You have forgotten it. So then there's someone who has said, we celebrate you, but you have forgotten Upper Gaturi, and I think that you have just explained about Upper Gaturi, if I'm not wrong, a few minutes ago, saying that you're waiting for consent from Athi River Water, if I'm not wrong, to come and set up, and then you can put in CDF. But then there's this other one who's saying, good job you're doing, but then you're forgetting our roads, and that is something that is equally important in seeing us being able to transport ourselves from point A to point B. What do you have to say about that?
One, when you talk about roads, CDF is doing them, and also the county government is doing them. So we have decided to sit down and we are discussing so that we don't do what is called a clash of projects. So I can tell the writer that indeed we are going to note and we are going to take action, if at all the county government is not going to take action. Be that as it may, I know the issue of roads in Kiharu is a major issue, particularly roads that needs paving. In fact, I know in some regions where people are really complaining. I'm going to give you 2 examples. There are, in fact, 3. There is one road that was coming up from a place called Mukuyu up to Kangema, a place called Keruri. Then the contractor pulled out after the devolution because the entity that was giving the contractor money, that is Kera, did not get money last year. So the contractor pulled out. So as a result, that road stalled We have another one that started from a neighboring constituency called Marago. It went up to the boundary with Kiharu. Now it proceeds to a place called Mugoiri. That road was abandoned at the boundary with Murang'a. It needs paving. There's also another one which started all the way to Mukurweini, that is Nyeri. It reached to the boundary with Kiharu. The Kiharu part is not tarmacked. Again, that was an issue with the former council which had issues with the contractor. So I'm getting a lot of political heat on the issues of roads. So what do? I'm trying to lobby the government to include those roads into what are they are calling the 10,000 kilometers. Of course, to me, it is an issue of lobbying. It is not something I cannot be able to pave a road using CDF. If I would, I would do anything to ensure those roads are paved. The only problem is that I'm depending a lot of goodwill from other people who are beyond me to ensure those roads are paved. But I'll try my level best. Of course, I can't give a guarantee because that's the role of some other players who are cabinet secretaries. They're the one who decide pave this road. But I pray, and the good thing that the president and also the deputy president have been in Kiharu. I've always told them that they ensure those roads which have been abandoned in Kiharu, they are paved. But I agree that on the issue of paving, we have a challenge, and I'm praying that they are going to be paved. And thirdly, those other small roads, we are also in that program. In fact, we are doing several roads paving. Marame, and also putting the quarry waste.
Right,
sometimes back, maybe I want to change the subject. You wanted or did you legislate against gays?
Well,
Opinion about it?
of course, when it's come to the issues of gays, I tend to be socially conservative. Out of my background, probably because I'm a strong Catholic Christian. So I have very strong conservative issues when it's come to the issues of sociology or socio issues. So I did not intend per se to legislate because we do have a legislation against gays. The issue was I just wanted to put it across to the country that we do have a law, and I was seeing as if there are some people who are trying to promote gayism in breach of the present laws that we do have. But I did not propose to have new laws because we do have laws which I think are proper and enough.
So you're kind of a moralist?
Not a moralist per se. By the way, the term moralist at times is usually misconstrued because morals generally means judgment of right and wrong, and everyone does that day in, day out. But I have very strong conservative views on social issues based on my Christian background, and I think they are logical, not only to Christians, even to non-Christians.
What about when it comes to politics? What do you think about what happened in Parliament when you're passing that security bill? Well,
it was wrong. Personally, it was wrong, but I do blame mainly legislatures from court. They're the one who started that chaos. I was there. So, of course, even us retaliating, of course, it was not good. But on the other hand, if we would have kept quiet, it would have meant that they would always be doing that. They would always be taking advantage of that and bring a lot of chaos. So it was an issue of surely if we keep down here, we shall never conduct any legislative
But in my view,
business.
many politicians have no principles at all.
Well, of course, I think we should have. Of course, the whole idea when you're in politics, you have a certain goal. Like now, I have said myself that my goal is to ensure Kiharu, by the time I'm leaving office, Kiharu has water. At least, well, we do have several other issues in Kiharu. But one issue is, let's say, for instance, in Kiharu, I've said water. And of course, I pray other politicians can have the same vision, where they are focusing on a certain aspect. So that even if they're elected or not, at least that legacy will live for them. Like personally, I drew a lot of inspiration for a politician from a neighboring constituency called Kandara. He was called Mushigi.
Mushigi?
Yes.
George
Mushigi.
Not Komodo?
No. I don't know. I drew a lot of inspiration.
When it came to development, Mushigi and Komodo almost the same.
No. You see,
only that Komodo is the wrong party.
No. When you talk about development, you must remove what we call neo-patrional system of development. That is whims, self-rules, handouts. To me, that's not a good form of development.
Mhm.
To me, a good form of development is where you are doing institutions. You're using institutions, which institutions are going to supersede you. Of course, you cannot be able to give people money and probably to buy them their loyalty. But when you build institutions, when you, for instance, what Mushege did, he made up an infrastructure which up to now does exist in Kandara constituency. I think that's very important. So that even if Mushege is no longer there, everyone knows that Mushege did something good.
Are you saying Matiba didn't do it? You took over from the constituency that was Matiba's?
Well, I can tell you for sure that Matiba and Kiano did a lot of good things in Kiharu. In fact, when you look at what we call development per constituencies, I remember in the year 2010 or thereabout, there was some ranking of constituencies in terms of development. And Kiharu came number 9. And I can tell you Kiharu has a lot of problems. But I was asking myself, why did Kiharu come to number 9? I think it was in the year 2005, I remember it was Anyang Nyong'o's report. It's because of some of the issues that were done by those two leaders. In Kiharu generally, in terms of education, you can only go about 1 kilometer before you go, 1 or 2 or 3 on average, to another school.
A secondary school, that is.
A secondary or even a primary school. When you talk about things like hospitals, generally you cannot go so many miles before you go to a hospital. Those were things which were done by those two leaders. So I can tell you Matiba did a lot of work to Kiharu. Now, even Kiano did a lot of work.
All right, quite a number of SMSs coming in, and two points are coming up. The issue of education in Kiharu is the CDF going to assist those that are in need of school fees to take them to school, because someone says the poverty levels are quite high in that area. Then the other issue that is coming up is what about the young people in Kiharu? How are they going to benefit from you being there, seeing as you're a young person, you're relatively young? How are they going to benefit from that?
Two things. One, we start with the first issue about education. We have invested a lot of money in education. One, in terms of improvement of infrastructure. Two, in terms of bursary. I think we give a lot of bursaries these days, and we ensure it is equitable. It is people are getting bursary, those people who deserve. And we do also do what is called ring fencing, insofar as bright people who are needy are concerned. Every person who goes to the university, a regular student, that is a person who has done well, we guarantee him 10,000 shillings. We do also intervene on their behalf to the Higher Education Loans Board to fast track or to consider them in loans. We do write those letters. Number two, everyone who becomes number 1 in all public schools right now, presently, we give him 10,000 shillings as a form of a bursary. If you are a poor person and you're in public school and you are number 1, and you do not get a scholarship elsewhere. Then 3, if you're in a day school, because we know day schools is where most poor people go, if you are best improved or you are number 1 in all classes, we also have your special bursary for that. Then, of course, we also give attachments to students. This is something that is new. In this so many water projects and other roads projects, those students who are in the universities who don't have attachments and they are bright people, we also engage in the attachment and we give them a small token to ensure at least they know what is happening at their home and also to get those skills. So, to us, I think in terms of education, we are doing something. In terms of youth, one, in fact, we get a lot of criticism that we engage a lot of youth so much. But of course, birds of the same feather tend to flock together. So what we are doing in terms of youth, one, we have reserved for them some slots in procurement. Number 2, we have also reserved some slots for them in the CDF leadership. We have what is locational CDF committees. We reserve some certain seats for them. So they are in our leadership of CDF. Number 3, of course, investments in education or even in other things the youths do which are not per se education related, like Buddha licensing. We give them to the youths. Number 4, we know youths like sports. They like entertainment. We usually have a tournament. we usually also have a music competition where those people who excel in music, they are chosen by the people, and then we give them a small award. So I think we have tried to do our level best, but we are always amenable to hear new ideas, because we are not the best per se. We can always take up any new thing.
Let's go to current politics. What's your view about JAP, Jubilee Alliance Party, the one that was formed the other day?
Well, personally, I attended the Naivasha meeting, and the president gave us a very good reason as to why we should support JAP. And the rationale is, one, we do not want a situation where we shall be seen, we people in TNA, we are competing as against the people of URP. When you have a situation where you have two parties which are in the same coalition, there is always a tendency for those two parties to fight. I've seen in some constituencies where that fight was very vicious, and it left a lot of bad taste among the leaders of the opposite party within the same coalition. To avoid that, it makes sense for everyone to join into one party. Number two, we want this country progressively to have parties which are strong, as opposed to so many parties which always collapse after a certain period of time.
But that is exactly what is happening. You are killing TNA, which took you to parliament, just the same way DP was killed, and that's the same way Kanu was killed. By setting up another party, it's just a vehicle. After 2017, it will be abandoned, you take another one.
Well, in my own opinion, no. First and foremost, you must look at politics from post-1991, meaning first, our democracy is very young. So in terms of killing parties, I can only say that's a phenomenon that we cannot say for sure that's a feature of Kenyan politics. Maybe going behind, but going forward, you never know. But so the point is, we may not replicate what happened in DP and whatever. Let us look into the future. Now, looking into the future, I can tell you I don't see a situation where we shall kill Jubilee. Why? One, the key parties which support this government will have joined it. And that means in so many regions will have joined one party. And therefore, they will have invested a lot of resources in one party. And pulling out.
A lot of jitters from Rift Valley, from your people who are not happy. They're complaining they are not involved. There was no involvement, no consultation.
Well, this notion of consultation, in my own opinion, is a red herring. It's neither here or there. There were
Don't you think it's important to be consulted when it comes to matters that affect you, who is a party member?
There was consultation by some leaders. Of course, when you talk about consultation, it doesn't entail consulting each and every member of the party. So there was consultation. You look at the leadership structure of this new party, you will see representation of TNA and URP. So the point is there was consultation. The question is, that consultation, was it supposed to be on each and every member of parliament? No. To me, each and every member of parliament got an opportunity to hear the rationale of the party and to oppose it or support it when we were in Naivasha. And that is exactly what happened. We were given the rationale of the party, and and by the way, after the meeting, almost everyone saw the rationale. And I think from that time, I've never heard any other dissenting voice.
In Kajiado Central, where all the candidates were vying under JAP, or Jubilee Alliance Party, they agreed that after the nomination, which was primary, they will all support the winner. After the election results or the primary results were announced, the number 2 person jumped to ODM, and yesterday was declared the candidate for ODM to oppose his colleague, who is now in JAP. Now, when you say you don't hear any dissent, that will happen when it comes to elections. The losers will jump to other parties when it comes to nomination. And that's practical, because the members of parliament refuse to put that gap of 4 months or whatever number of months before you jump from one party to another. So one day, a fellow is in the JAP to follow his ODM.
First and foremost, I I think it is wrong what happened. ODM ought to have refused that person nomination. That's
But-
number one. Number two,
But he is popular.
no,
They
no,
want
no,
a,
no,
they
no,
want a person to win the seat.
no.
The fact that the difference between the winner and the loser, number two, was only about 500 votes.
Yeah.
But you see, that's neither here or there. To them, what they should have done is to ensure there is internal democracy in their party. And by the way, when you look at ODM, you have seen a consistent pattern of undemocratic things. A consistent. One, they never do any form of free and fair nomination. At least
in Kajiado Central, they did.
No, I am not aware of...
They did. They had ballot boxes, they had supervisors, there was voting that took place.
But surely you would imagine, for instance, this guy who came just the other day, there were other persons who had presented themselves.
Yeah, there were other
before.
older ODM candidates, but they lost to the JAP person who turned turncoat from JAP to ODM.
No, to me that is wrong. What they should have done is to ensure for how long for how long have you been with the party? To ensure what is called party discipline. Like myself, by the way, if I lose in party primaries, I don't intend to defect. And I think that should apply to each and every politician. Because the issue is not sitting the seat per se. The issue is about supporting the ideals of that party. Even after you have lost, you just stick to that party. Because, by the way, after 5 years, you can always avail yourself again to vie. So, to me, what happened in Kajiado is wrong. ODM should have stuck to its rules.
I don't know whether to blame ODM or the candidate.
and it comes back to the question Mutaginja had asked you earlier. As you speak, you come out as someone who is very pure in thought and in talk. So does that mean you're a moralist?
Well, the point is, I don't want to define myself per se. I would leave that to other people probably to judge me. Let me not give myself a pronoun or an adjective.
Why not?
Well, no, it is upon other people to judge how I am, my philosophy. Of course, I do have my philosophy. I don't want to say per se I'm a moralist. Yes, I am.
You said you are a staunch Catholic.
Staunch, 100%.
Which means, for instance, you do not encourage contraception.
Yes, I don't.
I tell the women there, you cannot use artificial, whatever, those things.
Contraceptives.
Contraceptives.
Yes.
Is that?
No, my position on contraceptives is this one. One, use what is called natural ways of contraception. It is there. Natural means. Number two, yes, it is true. You may do those other forms of artificial.
If you're Catholic, you don't do it because the Pope said no.
Well, the point is this one. You must take to the natural methods of family planning. That is my position. As to whether you should do those other things which other people engage, of course, that's a personal decision of a Catholic. Of course, it's a personal decision. But for us, it makes a lot of sense for people to stick to the natural ways of family planning.
Okay. Just a question. Is it true that back at home you do not have a fence around your house? And if so, why?
The fact is, I was born in a not so rich family. My parents went to Muranga in late 1950s.
From where?
From Kahuhia, near Matiba's place. In fact, my parents they do neighbor Matiba in Kahuhia. So when they went there, they were not educated. So my father became a mechanic. And my mother also joined in that business as a mechanic. So there was a time the council, during I think 1960s, 70s, told people, you mechanics, you are dirtifying the town, go to that desolate place. So my parents went there and they put up a small house. So we were born, we were many children, we were 8 children. So they struggled to raise us. So they invested more in educating their children as opposed to putting up some some fences around their houses.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result, they have never put up a fence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fact indeed. We don't have a fence, but it's not because of my mistake. It's because of the circumstances of how I was raised up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't begrudge them. I'm very proud of them. In fact, I am very inspired that out of that humble background, I've been able to reach where I am. And I tell my parents thank you. And I tell God thank you. And also the people of Murang'a, particularly the people of Murang'a town, that they have found it fit to elect me twice, first as a councillor. And I remember that time when they were electing me as a councillor, I was in very difficult circumstances. I had just been suspended from University of Nairobi. In fact, it was a suspension which was somehow indefinite. So I was in a lot of problems. And they found it fit to grant me the first seat. And then again, they found it fit to give me the second seat when I sought it. So the point is, it is true. I come from such kind of a background, but I just tell God thank you. And I also realize the importance of education. Because we are written out for education, I have no doubt about it. I would not have reached here. It was out of my consistency in education. And no wonder, amongst all those other things, I'm really putting my best foot forward when it comes to education, particularly those poor children who are very bright, because I know it's that path that have made me to reach.
Okay, okay. And, we're coming to the end of the show. A lot of people are talking about rules when it comes to SMSs, and we'll show you these SMSs. But there's also the issue of illicit brew that is coming up from your constituents, and they're asking you, what exactly do you have planned? If I can get one, kindly comment about illicit alcohol at Gaitwa by our youth, that is Mary. Let me see if I can get another one. Quite a number of people. Hongera mheshimiwa, umetuletea stima, lakini this time usisahau pombe. That is hapa Kaweru. There are quite a number of messages that are coming in on illicit brew. Maybe you can tell us what your plans are to tackle that, seeing as it has been a problem that has been highlighted.
At times women demonstrate against the husbands who take illicit brew in Central Province.
Personally, I blame the provincial administration. They need to do more. So I have even seen some corrupt police officers who go rent-seeking from the brewers. And when we report to the provincial administration, no action is taken. To me, I will continue to push and press the provincial administration to put its foot down and ensure illicit brew goes. Number two, issues to do with licensing of various outlets that deal with alcohol has been developed. I will still continue to engage the county government to put more stringent laws to ensure that illicit brew doesn't find itself through licensed outlets.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Njau, any final questions as we come to the end of the show?
What would you like to tell the people of Kiharu?
I think before even what you'd like to tell the people of Kiharu, 2015, what should they expect?
First and foremost, I want to put this trophy in contest, that I have not done what I'm planning to do 100%. The point is, this is not time to celebrate, because I've only done maybe, out of what I intend to do in regard to what I've only done maybe 20%. There is a very, very, very long road for me to achieve my intention. For instance, as you have heard, some regions, let's say in Upper Gaturi, we have not even started that project. Of course, it's in the pipeline and the money is there. In due course, we shall be rolling out. But you have seen there are some very many regions that we are yet to do that. So the point is, this was just a commendation that we are on the right track, which is good, but we have not done what I am intending to do. So the point is, 2015, I'm going to put a high gear. This is the year that I'm going to put my best gear to ensure water does reach as many schools and households as possible. Number two, other forms of projects in terms of street lighting, in terms of electricity to the rural areas. We are collaborating with rural REA to ensure each and every home does has lighting.
Electricity.
Yes, and of course there are other interventions that we are doing to ensure Kiharu does progress. and probably we go back to where Matiba left it.
Okay. All right, thank you very much and wish you the best. And you know the people of Kiharu are watching, so that is a commitment you have made to them. And we'll be coming back to you a bit later in the year to see whether you've been able to achieve what you have set out to do. But thank you very much. Excuse me, and we wish you all the best. Keep watching the Power Breakfast Show. Don't go too far.